do not talk to me about For Good because that entire song took me out. I was done for. Oh man, we are back, fellow Aussians, and I think I'm getting sick, so please do not mind how I sound. But we're back, and I am in shambles, if I'm being perfectly honest. And if you've been here for a while, then you might be thinking, when is she not? Nah, you guys, I know I cry often when watching movies and TV shows, but it's been a while since I've been impacted like this. It was bad. I was sobbing audibly in the theater. And you know what's real bad? When I can't even listen to a song and I haven't even opened my vinyl records. Send help. Look, if you're looking for the same uplifting highs of part one, this is not it. If you're looking for the results of oppression, fascism, propaganda, understanding your role and breaking out of the system, and so much more, let's get into it. I mean, I'm gonna try to get into it because I have a lot of feelings. Now demonized as the Wicked Witch of the West, Elphaba lives in exile in the Aussian forest, while Glinda resides at the palace in Emerald City, reveling in the perks of fame and popularity. As an angry mob rises against the Wicked Witch, she'll need to reunite with Glinda to transform herself and all of Oz for good. Wicked Part 1 follows two enemies turned best friends, and Wicked for Good follows two best friends turned enemies and how they navigate the complexities of propaganda and political corruption to turn into, I want to say best friends again, but let's be real, something deeper, kinetic, and much more layered was going on there. Last year we mentioned how Part 1 explores friendship and perception, but I said I was more interested in how the film handled topics of racism, fascism, and the oppression of marginalized groups. Initially, I wanted to switch it up and talk about that friendship, more importantly, female friendship, because let's be honest, that's what really got me, and loyalty. But there is so much there to talk about, and I do try my best to be spoiler free. So we're gonna talk about propaganda and corruption. And if you saw my video on part 1, then you know that outside of 1939's The Wizard of Oz, I was completely unfamiliar with the story of Wicked. So I was not expecting these movies to confidently explore timeless and current themes like fascism and oppression. I am going to try and breeze through this section, the entire episode, honestly, for the sake of time, but believe you me, I can sit here all day and yap about both of these movies. Also, it might be a little too late in the beginning of the episode to say that I'm assuming if you're watching this video, then you've seen Wicked Part 1. So just keep in mind, I will be referencing that movie, so consider this a little spoiler warning. Now let's get back into the ideas of propaganda, corruption, and injustice. This movie shows how easily people can be misled and how fear is weaponized when a corrupt regime controls the narrative. The wizard actively uses propaganda to manufacture consent to persecute and demonize Elphaba and the animals of Oz. Information is twisted, headlines are manipulated, and before you know it, oppression becomes justified and the Wicked Witch becomes a perfect, convenient villain. This title is something the wizard uses to maintain control and continue his corruption, and instead of fighting it, Elphaba embraces her role as an act of rebellion. If the system wants to label her wicked for standing up against injustice, then so be it. She'll use it, because for her, her integrity and standing up for what's right is more important than her reputation or how people see her. Beneath all the politics and corruption, the message that really connects with me is the fact that goodness, real and true goodness, isn't about popularity, obedience, or being the corrupt leader's favorite. It's about doing what's right even when the world labels you a villain. It's about questioning who benefits from the narrative we're being told. It's about who refuses to accept the official version, and I am using air quotes, the official version of events just because it's wrapped in pro-Oz propaganda. All of these hard-hitting ideas and poignant moments are delivered incredibly well through bright colors, incredible acting and singing. But before we get into the highlights, let's talk about the triggers for a second. Like I said in my Wicked Part 1 video, if you're familiar with the story, then you know what to expect. But if you, like me, are going into this movie knowing nothing except maybe the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz, then I want to circle back on some of the themes. Wicked for Good contains emotional manipulation, gaslighting, political corruption, discrimination, xenophobia, and the systemic oppression of marginalized groups. These elements are very present throughout the film and woven right into the story. There's also not as much body horror as I expected or honestly would have liked, but there is transformation. There's also torture and moments of peril. It's nothing too crazy, but it is there. As always, please do your own research if you feel like you need to, and make sure you're in a good headspace before watching. Now let's talk about what worked. Last year, I enthusiastically said everything, and this time around, I'm gonna say that everything still works about this movie. I am still obsessed, and the fact that they sang live is still mind-blowing. I love so much about this movie. I'm repeating myself, but the same can be said about both films. The dance choreography, the costumes, the production design, the practical sets, the practical effects. All of it is stellar. And the acting again is fantastic. Ariana Grande as Glinda is amazing. I remember saying that I felt like she was going to give us so much more in part 2, and I was totally right, but she also is so much better than I could have imagined. Everything I said before is still true, but that nuance I mentioned before is so prominent this time around, and she's given so much more opportunity to explore Glinda's internal struggles. Ariana's performance plainly and openly portrays vulnerability that was so interesting to see play out. Now, we may feel how we feel about Glinda at the end of the day, but her journey is complex and is portrayed incredibly well. Now, Cynthia Erivo as my girl Elphaba is a powerhouse. I said that before, but she is unreal. Her vocals, I don't even need to tell you how incredible her singing is, but No Good Deed, y'all, insane. Everything I said about Ariana's nuanced performance can be said about Cynthia's too. Y'all, I was sobbing. Do not talk to me about For Good, because that entire song took me out. I was done for. The openness, the realization, the strength, desperation, and power of the character she delivers in her performance that is so raw and so real. I mean, it's impossible for me not to connect with her. And their chemistry? I mean, like I said, we can feel how we feel about Glinda at the end of the day, but it's their friendship, their journey together that is the beating heart of the entire story. It's the Ozdust dance moment, it's their final scene, and it's their duet. These moments are phenomenal. Their relationship makes the entire story. I'm going to start ranting if I'm not careful here, but the entire cast does incredibly well with the short amount of time they had on screen, particularly Ethan Slater as Bach. The range was crazy. Jonathan Bailey as Fiyero is really good. I love that internal conflict, and his performance was really a step up in terms of range, but again, he didn't have as much screen time. I really like Marissa Bode as Nessa Rose. I cannot stand Nessa Rose, but I love those moments Marissa had with Ethan. Jeff Goldblum is incredibly charming, and he does such a great job as the wizard. I know this section is getting a little long, but I love the storytelling in regard to my girl Elphaba. It's powerful and it's heartbreaking. It delivered a wildly emotional payoff. Not only that, but I also felt like I had some much needed time to sit in these moments and sit in these emotions. While there is a lot that I love about this movie, I completely understand and actually agree with some of the critiques. We're going to get into a few, and I'll share my thoughts along the way. Up front, I do want to mention 2 critiques that fans of the stage musical had for Wicked for Good that really stood out to me while watching in theaters. People feel that the original stage musical has a weak second act compared to the first, and the decision to split the movie into 2 parts just amplified that. And people felt like Michelle Yeoh as Madame Marble was miscast. I agree with both of these critiques, and I don't think you need to have seen the stage musical to see the flaws here. For Michelle's performance, anyone can hear the issue, but I do love to listen to fans of the stage musical's takes, especially when I'm finding out that songs were changed to accommodate her, changing the impact of some of these moments. I do think her acting is fantastic, but fans of the musical and fans of the film alike had problems with her singing or lack thereof, and I completely agree. Aside from that, another big issue I was seeing after watching the movie was the pacing. I agree that despite the long runtime, the movie felt slow and fast-paced. Some character moments or scenes dragged on while others felt rushed. A couple more that I agree with: the supporting cast didn't have much more development or screen time. I wish we got a little more from Nessa Rose, Bach, and Madame Marble. I feel like the moments they had were short-lived. And the CGI wasn't as seamless as part 1, and there was quite a bit of CGI. But I do understand that this is a bigger story. I will say for the most part that it does look good, but I agree that it gets a little muddy and the blend of CGI and practical elements isn't as seamless as what we got in the first film. Now for the critiques I don't agree with. Forgettable songs? Y'all, what? Now I know that some people didn't like the new songs, which is totally valid. I'm not going to get into why I enjoyed them because we will be here all day. For the rest of the songs though, look, to be completely honest with you guys, I wrote a whole thing about it, ended up ranting about it, and ended up deleting it. So I will just say that the songs are reflections of the story, right? Part 1 is more uplifting. Wicked for Good is darker and more emotionally intense. And 2, preference is everything. Like what you like. And finally, let's talk about The Wizard of Oz. Some people said that it was a forced tie-in and felt like Wicked was forced to align with the events of the 1939 film. I mean, yeah, I see what they're saying. If you watch the movies back to back, the pieces don't all line up. But I just stayed focused on Elphaba and Glinda's story and suspended my disbelief, to be honest. I saw it as a loose tie-in more than anything because the idea of the Tin Man being absolutely terrifying and then prancing and singing on the yellow brick road is too funny. So, is Wicked for Good worth 2 hours and 18 minutes of your time? Absolutely yes. If you haven't seen this movie once or a few times by now, definitely watch it. This is a fantastic movie and conclusion to Elphaba's story. Could they continue? Yes, but that's not the point. I love the acting, the singing, the practical effects, overall story, and the emotional weight of these characters' journeys. Again, does this feel like a long movie? Yes. Is it a lot of singing? Yes. Last year, I said I would have sat through another 2 hours and 40 minutes, so did I watch the double feature? Look, I have no friends and my honey did not want to watch a double feature, so that's a no. But for the record, I would have. Like I said last year, if you're put off by the drama surrounding Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, that is totally valid. I'm not going to get into it because I'm just here to talk about the movie, but as always, do your own research if you're interested. But despite all of that, this is still a fantastic movie. So, who's going to like this movie? If you're a Wicked enthusiast or just really love Wicked, and if you're a fan of musicals, if you like the world of Oz, the fantasy of the Wizard of Oz, the colorful visuals and allegorical storytelling, there is a lot to enjoy. If you love the visual richness and that lived-in feel of the first film, the immersive practical effects and the stunning costumes are still exciting. And if you're a fan of emotional storytelling and character development, there is so much this movie delivers on. Elphaba and Glinda's relationship is the core of the film. The themes of belonging, discrimination, corruption, and the cost of fighting injustice are handled so well. Now, who's probably not gonna like it? Obviously, if you're not a fan of musicals or have no interest in musicals, I mean, not everyone likes when characters just break out in song and dance. I get it. This movie is not going to change your mind. If you prefer a single movie and don't like when a story is split in half, not to mention the time jump between the two films, I read an article that said it was a year, but not knowing that going into the movie, it definitely felt like much longer than a year. After looking it up though, based on the stage musical, the jump is more like 3 to 5 years, which feels about right. Anyway, now this bit was meant to be the comparison section, but it was starting to feel like me wrapping things up, so I just decided to plug it in right here. If you go into Wicked for Good expecting it to be like Wicked Part 1, you might be disappointed. Wicked Part 1 is more whimsical and uplifting. It's an origin story with iconic and fun songs. Wicked for Good, on the other hand, is darker, more political, and an emotionally intense conclusion that focuses heavily on the character's journey and their consequences. I saw a comment on TikTok where someone called it a perfect mirror, and I love that description. Last year, we got a strong, complete film, and this year, we got a film that deepens those arcs and overall themes. I was in tears watching this movie. I am not exaggerating. If anything, I am underselling how much I cried. I felt such a deep emotional connection that I haven't felt over a fictional character in a while. I mean, if you know, you know. I've said it several times between my 2 Wicked videos, but I am unfamiliar with the story. I had a whole year to put my theories together, and even though I was right about a few things, I was still completely blown away. Do not go into this one expecting it to be like Part 1. If you're open to a darker and more serious story, and sure, the pacing and some songs were choices that were made, this movie is absolutely worth watching. All right, fellow Ozians, a huge thank you for hanging out with me to the end of the episode. If you enjoyed hearing my thoughts on Wicked for Good, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video. Last time I talked about Predator Badlands, which is a fun action-packed sci-fi adventure movie. As a treat for Halloween, I dropped my first reaction video for free over on Patreon. I watched Bring Her Back, and the next reaction video that is going up on Patreon is for Weapons. I am currently editing that one and I will let you know when that video is available, so keep an eye on the community tab. If you're interested, check everything out. I'll leave links wherever you're watching or listening. And you know I want to hear from you. What did you think of Wicked for Good? Now that we've seen both films, I have to ask again, Elphaba or Glenda? Definitely Elphaba, and I still don't like Glenda. Ooh, I didn't mention it, but how do you feel about Clock Tick? Because it stood out way too much. Also, how are we doing? Are we changed for good? And if we are, because I know we are we okay? Because I'm still processing. Clearly, I'm still processing because I'm yapping. Anywho, let me know what you think in the comments, and until next time, spread positivity, be safe, take care of yourself, happy movie watching, and happy holidays. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.